What exactly is a death doula?
When you take responsibility for your life and you understand that something is happening for you and nothing is ever happening to you. And we need to start looking at our mistakes, which are not mistakes, they're experiences, all the same. So when it comes time for you to transition, here you are with a closet full of unresolved situations. Your spirit cannot fly saddled with earthly things.
So people really need to start to expand their heart, right? What are some ways you would say that people can tap into that energy of love?
For someone who cheats on there is no cheating on someone else. It was just that you couldn't find the courage to say, but harmonize with it. Like, yeah, this happened. It doesn't make you any less. You don't have to define yourself by that experience. When you have that connection to the ancestors, you live a very powerful life.
What happens after we die?
They just elevate to a place of more power, I believe. That's my belief. Look at that. See what you that's like, you lockjaw about possession, and let that go because it's not serving you. And give gratitude. Be in gratitude and just flow. Expect the best. And if something doesn't work out the way that you want it to, give thanks because there's something better. It always works out like that.
If you transition holding on to something, you're going to bring that with you as you transition. And this is going to actually, how do I put this, affect the process of you going into heaven and then also reincarnating here on earth. So it's kind of twofold.
Have you ever been to a cremation here in Bali?
Majority of the world, it's not necessarily a traumatizing thing. It's actually a celebration.
And so I'm massaging her, and then slowly her breathing stopped. And I was like, under my hands. And then in that moment, I was like, I gave thanks because I realized how many forces had to be in alignment for me to experience that moment.
Hey guys, welcome back to Transformation to Expansion. I'm your host, Joelle Bradley. Today we have a very special guest. Shree Sofas is an international full-spectrum doula, meditation facilitator, women's reproductive justice advocate, and she is the deliberate creator of Surreal Serenity LLC and Learn Our Bodies. Please, welcome to the show, Shree. Thank you so much for being here today. Oh my God, your background is beautiful. Can you please let us know where you're at right now? Because I'm loving the look and the background. Everything is going together. Everything is flowing. And it just looks like paradise.
Thank you kindly. Give thanks. I am currently in Jimbaran, Indonesia, Bali, Indonesia. And I'm in a villa and it feels good. I'm enjoying this beautiful day and always appreciating greenery around me, especially the greenery of this beautiful island. Yeah. So thank you for noticing.
Thank you for sharing too. And I just love it because you're a doula, right? So but you're a full spectrum doula. So real quick, for those of y'all, I know some of y'all have watched our previous guest. Olivia was a birth doula, a holistic birth doula. What does it mean?
I think I know Olivia.
Oh my God! Wait, seriously?
Wait. Okay, we'll talk later. I think I know who you're speaking of. It's a small, beautiful world
in Ohio.
I think it's the same person. I think it is.
Oh my God! What? Okay, that's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, because we've been in a completely different capacity. But anyway, we can get to that another time. That's crazy. But anyway, okay. She's a holistic doula. Yeah, it's a small world, and honestly, it's a small community. I think, especially for women of color doulas, there's not a lot I'm noticing, and even the ones that are there's no central organization or anything for all of them to meet. This is something I discussed with Olivia on the previous podcast, right? Something she's working on is actually creating that network, which is super important. But anyway, so yeah, we'll talk about that another time. But basically, so she is a holistic doula, birth doula, right? But you said you are a full spectrum doula.
Yes.
What
Yes.
exactly is a full spectrum doula?
And I'm so glad you asked. What that means is I care for everyone on the life cycle, whether you are whether it's birth, whether it's releasing a pregnancy. Some women release their pregnancies for all
Mm.
kinds of reasons, and whether they have a fatal diagnosis or they feel they aren't ready, whatever the case may be. So I support them in that space. um, for those who are just all different types of situations that happen, whether it's birth, whether it's termination of pregnancy, and whether it's transition from this life that we know, death. Yeah, I support everyone on the life cycle. hmm so that's what it means to be a full spectrum doula, where you support, because the definition of doula is one who serves. So yeah, so I serve in
Oh,
all those capacities. And what I have found is that they're very similar, especially the life and the end. And I forgot postpartum as well. So yeah, after the baby is born, I support there as well. hmm
okay. So you mentioned how close it is, the birth and the end. Can you explain what that means? That's like sparked my curiosity a little bit. I'm like, okay, wait, how is me birthing a baby the same, like similar? I guess similar to also me dying. Like what is the similarities? I'm so curious.
Okay, in my experience, what I noticed is, the excitement around a baby coming, and the expectancy and all the prayer that goes into wishing that baby, pulling that baby earthside into good energy, into lots of love and support. The same thing happens when you transition. The ancestors are on the other side, praying you to that side, helping you, wanting you to cross or walk over that bridge, and knowing that they're all standing there at the other end just waiting for you. And I have a story about that. You want to hear?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, please. Yeah.
So my first well, it was my first physical um death or transition experience. I will often use the word transition instead of death, because we're all energy. So we don't die, we just transform. That's what we are as beings. So I'm going to speak to you from that point of view. So I had a client in New York, and she was a doctor, and her grandmother had Alzheimer's. She was nonverbal, and she was on the road to making her transition. And her gift to her grandmother was me coming over every week and giving her a massage, because I am also a licensed massage therapy in the state of New York City, New York. So I go over there every week, and I'm noticing the slight changes that are telling me that she's, getting ready to cross the Rainbow Bridge. So
Mhm.
I go over there this one time, and I noticed that her breathing was very labored. And I knew that this was one of the signs that someone is making their transition. So I said, okay. And I
Mm.
brought it to her daughter's attention. And she said, okay. I said, well, just, what you gonna do while I'm here with your mom? And she says, oh, I'm gonna run to the store. Now they had a huge house, so there was no way for me to know whether she left the house or not. So I'm massaging her mother, and in the background, there's Native American flute. I used to always put amethyst in her right hand, and a pink quartz in the other hand.
Mm.
And I would massage her with lavender oil, lavender infused oil. That was her favorite. And she was in a bed. She wasn't on a regular massage table. So at the end of her bed was a wall full of her ancestors. So can you imagine hearing Native American flute music, and sometimes it has the sound of a waterfall, and then sometimes it has birds chirping. It was just everything. So after a while, her name was Mother Straker. Speaking of you, Mother, give
Mm-hmm.
thanks for the experience. So after a while, her breathing became less labored, and I said, "Oh, well, she's starting to settle into the massage." But then Spirit told me, "No, she's making her transition." So I called her daughter, and I said, "Hey, Tanya, I think this," because I didn't want to alert her, or because I didn't know how she was going to take it. Although I did
Mm-hmm.
know she had a metaphysical relationship to life. So she wouldn't be the person to scream and cry and throw herself on the ground. Like she wouldn't have a bad reaction. So, but I didn't know what the reaction would
Mm-hmm.
be. So I said to her, I said, Tanya,
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be a really good time for you to join your mother and I. And she says, okay. Like she didn't, so she was like, she didn't know.
Get started on your wellness journey today. Whether you are starting your wellness journey in the middle of it or finishing it, this library will help you so much. It is a free wellness library with over 50 resources on how to jumpstart your wellness. And really, it has so much more than that. It has full guides on how to quantum leap, full guides on how to manifest, and even my personal favorite, coloring books. Yes, and I'm talking unique coloring books. Y'all already know who you're dealing with, okay? We have baobab coloring books, cactus plant coloring books, and so much more. And it's completely free. So please make sure to check it out, especially if you're on your wellness journey, or if you know a friend who is on the wellness journey and wants some free resources, please let them know about the wellness library, okay? The link is in the show notes below. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show.
And so I'm massaging her, and then slowly her breathing stopped. And I was like, under my hands. And then in that moment, I was like, I gave thanks because I realized how many forces had to be in alignment for me to experience that moment. Her ancestors had to be in alignment to receive her spirit. She had to be in agreement to go with me present. The universe was ready for her to come and be with in the everlasting arms, right? So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is a powerful moment. Like that was not lost upon me. Then in comes Tanya, and Tanya walks in the room, and she could not tell because, it looked like her mother was just resting. And I said, Tanya, your mother did it. She made her transition. And that's exactly what I said to her. She looked at her mother and she said, oh, mother. Like she was proud of her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she got in the bed next to her and was stroking her soft, curly, silver hair. And I was on the other side kissing. And we just kissed her on both sides of her face. And I kept massaging her. And it was like she went on to the ancestors with kisses at her back. And I was like, that's the way we're supposed to do it. That's the way it can be done. And so that was the real ushering in of my death doula work. And then I went and got formally trained um, under Suzanne O'Brien, and um, read some things, some articles, and watched some interviews and things with Sister Alua Arthur. I love the way that she does her work. And yeah, and ever since then it's been history. Yeah. So that's it. That's been it.
I love that. I love that. I love it
Yeah.
because I feel like the media really portrays death as this like traumatizing experience. They really push that narrative, right? They really push the narrative that that death is like something you have to fear, and it's very West. This is a very Western mindset, right? Because I found that in the rest of the rest of the world, but majority of the world, it's not necessarily a traumatizing thing. It's actually a celebration.
It's so not.
Hmm?
It so is. Have you ever been to a cremation here in Bali?
No, I know that they had a few when I was last in Bali, but I haven't been to a cremation yet because there's a season for it, right? There's a season where they all kind of do them depending on the family and the location, right?
It depends on the family, the wealth of the family. So sometimes they have mass creations, and if the family is a little bit more well off, then they can have a cremation within several days. And then it also depends on the family's background, religious background. So I've attended
Mm.
Hindu cremations, and there is no crying. That was the first thing that struck me. There is a like a beautiful dressing of the body, and I love that there was a washing and a dressing of the body, which is what Tanya and I wound up doing after Mother Straker transitioned. Um, and so they put flowers down, they speak life over, and the children and everyone is there. And there's a they hold a picture, and the person is brought in on like this very opulent gold and red looking. It's not a chariot, but because it's something that they hold, like they're carrying. So that's what the body is in. And then they put the body on like this. The body is laid out on like over this iron thing. It almost looks like a grill. It does.
Mm-hmm.
And they, they say all, they give the last rites and things like that. There's a priest, and I noticed, and then the body is covered in white. I believe it was like a white sheet, and then the flames come from the feet all the way up, and people just stand there and they watch, and then after a while it stops burning, and someone is responsible for removing the remains, and then they take the remains, and I believe there's another process in between, and then it's given back into the ocean. And it was a seaside. I was like, what? That's what you do. And I was like, yeah. And then after that, because I'm thinking about myself, right? I'm like, yeah. And then we'll have the beach party that I wanted everybody to come to. Like it. But what they did was they sat, and they had someone was in the women were in charge of serving like little snacks afterwards, and they just sat. They weren't quiet like in mourning. They were just like, this is okay. We saw another member off. It was not traumatic
Mm-hmm.
at all. It was accepting of what the life cycle is, and I think that's a far healthier perspective for us to hold, being that we're all going to do it, right? It takes the
Mm-hmm.
dread. It takes the dread out of it, right? Yeah, you can accept it.
Yeah.
You can accept it. Did you accept your birth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 'cause, I mean, even the dread can cause you trauma and heartache throughout your life, right? So it's like building this negative karma in a way, and that's not healthy for you when you're living or even after life. So, but it's so beautiful. Like, okay, so I mean, I think a lot of people they've heard of birth doulas. Um, but what you're talking about is like your work as a death doula, right? Like just being there before somebody is about to pass away when they're close to it.
And supporting their families.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I mean, this is perfect. So, what exactly is a death doula? What is the role of a death doula? Why should or would somebody hire a death doula?
Well, I would hire if I think let's start with the role. The role is to support the family as well as the person who is making their transition. You help them to get to that space as far as they can get into their space, because remember we have the um, unfortunate constructs of religion sometimes in our way that doesn't allow us to really accept it in the way that we could accept it if we weren't seeing it through the lens, that limited lens of religion, and seeing it from more of a spiritual um, lens, if you will. And so it also, another thing about being a death doula and helping the family is helping them to understand and support their loved one, like to kind of take themselves out of the equation and have the focus be on easing and supporting the loved one. So they often ask me, well, what can I do? And I'm like, well, I give them things to do. And by giving them things to do, it helps them, one, to connect to transition, to be less afraid of it for their loved ones, and then also for themselves. So it's just a way for you, for the person, to have a new outlook on the Western because I've only supported people with Western ideologies. So it gives them an opportunity to see this differently, to experience this differently, other than the narrative that a lot of us have been programmed to have. It's beautiful. They're surprised that there are things that they can do to feel, because they feel often very helpless. They're just, but they don't have to be. There's things that you can do, like in the 90s. I had a friend, a sister friend, whose father was passing away, and another friend of mine reminded me of this. She said, "You've been a death doula longer than you've known." She said, "Do you remember when Papa Nurse was transitioning, and you went in your handbag and pulled out some frankincense, rubbed it in your hands, and began to massage his feet, and then that tear came out his eye?" I was like, and he was in hospice. I forgot about that. It's been in me a long time, but I didn't remember. So it's little things like that you can do. If you know the person likes chocolate, get a chocolate candle and burn it. You know what I'm saying? Like, do the things that make them happy. If you know they like house music, turn on some house music. You know what I mean? Give the people what they want. Whatever it is. Because, when people transition, I know, for one, like I like house music, right? So I'm gonna be dancing. I'm always dancing. I'm always gonna sing. So I want people singing and dancing around me. I want people wearing orange. It's my favorite color. Like, just make a list of all the things that person like, and make sure that they are surrounded by it. That's my recipe for a good transition, and what people can do to support their loved ones as they're going through it.
Recently, I was at a meditation retreat, and that was one of the things I learned from one of the master monks who were at that retreat, which was, at the end, right before you die, that moment before you not pass, but transition, it is so important. It is so important to just let go.
Yeah.
And this is one thing that I've seen with a lot of people, unfortunately, who passed away in the past. They don't let go, and it's not healthy. And there, so anyway, so the monks, obviously this is Buddhist belief, but they believe that so if you transition holding on to something, you're gonna bring that with you as you transition, and this is going to actually, how do I put this, affect the process of you going into heaven and then also reincarnating here on earth. So it's kind of twofold, and so it really makes this experience when we transition so precious. Like, I just feel like if everybody kind of realized how precious that moment is, it would really have a really positive effect, on so many transitions. Because unfortunately, right now, because of what we've been taught and what we have been projected, what has been projected into us via the media, not just social media, not just the news, but also a program, TV. It really projects
Yes.
onto us this process of not releasing, of holding on to stuff, holding on to everything, you know. And it makes that process of transitioning kind of like bitter a little bit, you know.
It sure does. I agree. It's like the West is so hooked into possession. Whether it's possession, you and a lover, and that love, that's my lover, that he's mine, she's mine, you know, in relationship, he's mine, she's mine. Or I gotta make lots of money so I can have all these possessions. Because if I don't have these possessions, what are people gonna think of me? I am not my possessions. I possess nothing. Because you know what comes with possession? Possession has a twin brother, and that's control. And guess what? What do we control? What do we really control? We can't even control ourselves. So how are we going to try to control other people and situations? Our job in this life is to be thankful, to move with a loving spirit, and give gratitude. Be in gratitude and just flow. Expect the best. And if something doesn't work out the way that you want it to, give thanks because there's something better. It always works out like that. But to have this thing with possession that we would be well served if we would just release the need to possess on every look at your life. See where you have this pit bull in your teeth energy about possession. Where's that in your life? Look at that. See what you let's like, you lockjaw about possession and let that go because it's not serving you. It's not bringing you the ease and the peace that you need to navigate this big high school called life. It's too much. It's too much.
Oh, I know that's
We deserve and desire ease and peace.
right. Yeah, yeah. People, they, yeah, like you said, they hang on too much. To, yeah, to controlling the whole every decision, every time you think between, even if it's between like your head and your heart, you're still thinking about what choice to make, right? So you need to really be in a position where you have to start to just receive. But anyway, that's topic for another conversation. But my point is, you know, you start to really experience the truth of this right before you die. So if you don't experience it through life, which a lot of us don't, you know, if we don't let go of control, then you're gonna have to experience it right before you die. And you might not have the education or the backing to really deeply understand that, you know.
This is true.
What happens after we die? What happens after we die as a death doula? What would you say?
Who knows? Right? Who knows? Who knows? We all have our thoughts about what happens after we die, and depends on your spiritual connection. Um, but we know that for those who kind of move in the more spiritual realm, we know that there is still that energy present
Mm.
because our loved ones who cross that bridge, they let us know that they're okay, and they let us know that they're still present. There are a myriad of ways. I know, for instance, I have this conversation with my friends before they transition because I want to know how they're going to contact me so that I can be cognizant of when they're contacting me. So I can be like, oh, hello.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a girlfriend who she transitioned. She had brain cancer, and she told me I would see dimes United States currency, dimes. And I was like, dimes? Girl, I'm here. I need to see dollars. She was like, no. She said it's going to be dimes because dimes are so obscure. You don't see dimes. And when I see dimes, I do see them. And it's such an obscure thing, but I know it's Donna. I know it's her. I see my brother. His name is Malcolm William Mendoza. I see him twice a day. I can be doing the most random things. I could be doing my hair or, I don't know, reaching for something. And then I look down at my phone and it's 7:17, and that is his birthday. 12:12. That's my husband's birthday. I'll see him. And they just let you know, I'm around you. I'm around you, baby. You're good. You're good. Don't you worry about a thing. It feels good because you always feel. And what I do is I call on them when like they had certain powers. Like everybody comes with a gift, right? Like yours is the ability to tap into other people and extrapolate their talents and share them with the world. That's your magic gift, right? My husband's was like making bargains and things like that. So I'll call upon that energy when I'm in a position of negotiation. And it works. It works. So I say all that to say when our energies leave, they never really leave. They just elevate to a place of more power, I believe. That's my belief. And they serve to help those who are still here on this plane. They finally have graduated from this high school setting of continuing education and learning, you know? Yeah, that's what I believe happens.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So I mean, because I know a lot of people, I feel like now there's a resurgence of getting in more connection with our ancestors. Growing up, I didn't see a lot of that. People didn't connect with their ancestors.
I know.
Yeah, maybe they had like a photo of like a person who passed away. But this is in Western, right? This is in America. I already know all of my friends from Mexico, all of my like Hispanic friends. Oh no, they've been on this. they know what's up. They know to offer. You know.
Honey, they've been on it. October 31st, that Day of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I started celebrating that maybe like about 8 to 10 years ago. You know how, listen, you know what I do? It's a day, it's a night. Like I prepare the whole day, even like days before, not even just the whole day, but I'm excited about it the whole day. And then when sundown goes, that's when I go in. And I make sure I have all of the foods that my loved ones like. If they love liver with onions, now I don't eat that. But if they like liver with onions with some green peppers, guess what's on the altar? If they like to smoke, if they like smoke wacky tobacco, that's on that's on the altar. If they like, I have an aunt who used to like wild Irish rose. This wine, some kind of it was just called wild Irish rose, and she used to like a pint of it. And I make sure that I have that on. So you have all of their things, and I play their music, and I take my time with each one of them. So each one of them has my time. I play their music. I sing their songs. Depending, one of my great aunts, Susanna LeBrew, she used to love Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia Jackson was a gospel singer, and I would play some Mahalia Jackson music. Like it just makes you feel so connected to them, and you cry and you laugh and you cry and you laugh to let them know you don't forget about them, and you pray that someday somebody will do the same for you. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But the West, they don't, you're not encouraged. And I know why. It's because when you have that connection to the ancestors, you live a very powerful life. You live a very powerful life. You don't see life the same way. You don't experience it the same way. You're not, because I've lived both. I wasn't always like this.
Mm.
I've lived both, and I feel much more powerful walking and feeding walking with my ancestors and making sure I feed them. And it also could be as simple as a picture of them, just a picture of them singularly with no one else in it, um, or if it's someone else who is deceased, but no live people, no live and unalive. A white candle and a clear glass of water.
Mm-hmm.
That can be your whole altar.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be complicated because since I have moved, I don't have like the full blown altar that I once had. I can't. So, and then here also, the culture here, the Hindu culture here, they celebrate their ancestors every single day. There are beautiful, and I'm sure you've seen them, baskets put out with flowers, and if there were children that transition, there are candies inside the basket, and if or cigarettes for the elders who smoked, who like a good cigar, cigarette, is they really do that. They see the value in it, and they believe it keeps them safe, hmm and cared for and wealthy. And I mean wealthy in the way of land, land, their material wealth, and the wealth of good health, hmm full abundance. That connection is important. What do you think about that?
I'm always like in awe. I mean, I think Hinduism and then uh, Muslim, like I'm always in awe of people who are devoted. Like devotion for me is like so sacred. And so, with Muslims, they pray 5 times a day. I mean, the really, well, I know there's different Muslims, right? But the ones that I've seen, abroad, they
Yes.
pray 5 times a day. And,
hmm
and I even had a teacher in high school, she was Muslim, and she had to take her lunch break to pray. She woke up at 3 a.m. to pray. She was like, this is just part of the life. And so with Hindu culture here, like even in Bali, it's like I'm just like in awe of it. And it's crazy because they have these offerings, y'all. It's not just one or two little things. 40. They make 40 of these every single day. They do not stop because it's very. I think there's a superstition to it also. But they're just so like they're like, no, we have to. We learn. Like usually the women are the ones who make the baskets, right? So, and I talked to one of my friends who's Balinese, and she was like, yeah, we learned this when we were 7 years old. Because I tried to make one of those baskets. Girl, I was like, I couldn't. I was like, I'm not meant to be Balinese. Because it was so hard. It was so hard.
The steadfastness in which they venerate their ancestors is um, a reminder. Because people ask me, what is my religion? All the time I get that. And I say, I had the blessing of uh, being brought into Christianity. So I know Christ consciousness. On my own, I sought Islam. And so I studied Islam for a while. Buddhism, studied Buddhism, had the love of a delicious Rastafarian man. So I got to understand Rastafarianism and Jah.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, when people ask me what is my religion, I just say love. It's just that simple. Love. You know what love is. We all know. If we had never received all of those different indoctrinations, we would know how to be. We don't need religion. You know what it feels like when you're in alignment, and you know what it feels like when you're out of alignment. You do. You don't need anyone else's moral compass. If it doesn't look like love, if it doesn't feel like love, it don't taste like love, it's not love. So you have the choice to do it or not, but it's there. Everyone, we all come with it. So what does love look like, right? Love looks like love looks like opening a door for someone who may have packages in their hand, or maybe love looks like taking one or two of the packages from them. Love looks like, sister, you need something, let me Girl, I'm over here I'm getting a foot massage. Come join me. I want you to feel good. Love means different things. Love shows up. And so just look for ways to be that. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Look for ways to be loved. So, I mean, so what are some ways that, so people really need to start to expand their heart, right? What are some ways you would say that people can tap into that energy of love?
Starts from within. Do something really good for yourself. And then you want to be good to
Mm-hmm.
others. Show yourself some grace. Like, don't be ashamed of your life. Be grateful for every single stinking thing. Count if you can really look at something that something that was
Mm-hmm.
malicious. If you look at that thing and say, wow, like if you can look at it through different eyes and say, wow, this was necessary for me to go through so that I could learn this lesson so that I could be this person
Mm-hmm.
today. That really wasn't that. So if you can get to the place of looking at things as lessons and not as penalizations,
Mm-hmm.
then you can learn to love yourself more. And then you will learn to love others, and you will learn to love your life more, and you will learn to love and respect and honor transition or death.
Mm-hmm.
But there are steps. There are steps. But the first step you can take is to learn to love every aspect of your life, harmonize with it. Even if all right, even if you can't say truly that you love it,
Mm-hmm.
but harmonize with it. Be like, yeah, this happened. It doesn't make you any less than anyone else. It doesn't make you're not defined by that experience. You don't have to define yourself by that experience. It was just an experience. It needed to happen. It's okay. Is just as valuable as the good things that
Mm-hmm.
happen that you would deem, that would excite you and give you pause to smile and make you walk like you got theme music.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just as valuable. It's just as valuable. I promise you. And that way, if you can do that, when it's time for this, for your ascension, I don't believe you'll fight it
Mm-hmm.
because you'll be like, you know what? I learned that. I learned that. I learned this. That was all right. I lived a dope life. Yeah, I lived a dope life. At the end of the day, yeah, yeah, it's good.
That's beautiful, and it's so pointed. And you're a really good speaker, by the way. I don't know. I feel like you're a really good speaker. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Give thanks.
But it's no, it's very pointed because again, Western society we're taught to well, a focus on the quote unquote negative, but also I feel like devalue the quote unquote negative, the bad things that happen, whether it's trauma or whether it's mistakes that were made. Right? We're taught to not see it as something that is actually for the betterment of our lives and that is actually for us, right? Um, and it's just so important to take that into consideration, right? Because if you spend your whole life, and I know there's like different aspects of it, there's your mindset and there's also your environment. You might have people who keep on reminding you of the mistakes that you made in the past, even though they have been long gone, long solved, right? So maybe this is another conversation. But it's really important to recognize this because a lot of people they'll then carry this with them onto their deathbed. They'll be like, oh, I still that's where regrets come from, right?
That
It's like, oh, I still regret that one time where I don't know, maybe I cheated on somebody or that one time thing of like examples, but
take an example like that. You cheated on someone, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I've never, but
Was it that you cheated? It doesn't matter, even if you did, even if you did, even if you did, right? For someone who cheats on there is no cheating on someone else. It was just that you couldn't find the courage to say, I want to have another experience separate from you. And I
Mm.
don't want to hurt you. That's the truth of cheating. There is no cheating. There isn't. That's a Western construct. That whole divorce thing, all of that, like it's just there is no cheating. You decided that in that moment you wanted to experience something different. What's so bad about that? Why why can't you, like, just isn't you in a car and you see something that you don't want to, you a street that's congested, so you put on your signal and you bust a left. What's the like you wanted to go in a different direction. It's just that impactful. You don't have to carry it like and you didn't have the courage. Give yourself grace. You didn't know how to say to that person, I really wanted to take a left, because you're afraid. You try to put yourself on both sides of the conversation, right? So it's like you don't want to tell them because you don't want to feel the hurt that you think they're going to feel. So you take responsibility for being the sender of the letter and the receiver of the letter.
Mm.
Is that possible? Do you live at both addresses?
Mm-mm.
No, you don't. I always believe when it comes to those kinds of conversations about cheating and responsibility, um, you do the best you can in terms of your your ability to be honest with yourself and what you want to do. You can only do that, like, that's all you're responsible for. And if you want to say something to someone, just say it in love. Do not bear the responsibility of how the person is going to take it. That's none of your business. Again, it's the scenario of you mailing a letter, you send the letter, and then you go on the other side and try to be the one to receive the letter. You don't know how that person's going to receive the letter. But if you send it in love, 9 out of 10 times it's going to be all right.
Mm-hmm. Mm. What do you mean by that? So what do you mean by
That's
sending it
it.
with love?
So what you have to say, so the whole cheating scenario, right? You want to tell them that, you you have found, you're in an instance where you feel like you want to have a different experience that doesn't include them, right? You want to share
Mm-hmm.
that information. So that's like sending a letter. That's like sending a letter is like having a conversation with someone. It's a euphemism that I have,
Mm-hmm.
that I use with coaching clients. I'm saying that you cannot be the sender of the information, of the communication, and be the receiver. You cannot send that and then turn around. It's like you being, I'm having to tell you, the person right here, that um, I love you, but I want to have a different experience. And then you turn around and try to be the person and feel what they're going to feel and go, like, you're acting, oh, I know what they're going to say. So um, I'm not going to tell them because I don't want them to be hurt. How do you know they're going to be hurt? Maybe they might just appreciate you saying what your preferences are. But nobody told you that you can be that adult, that you can be that open.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, oh no, shh, don't tell. It's cheating. Go ahead and do it. You don't have to tell them. You don't have to be honest with them and yourself. So that's the whole cheating construct, where you don't have the bravado, you don't have the bravery or the inner strength to be honest with yourself first, right? With yourself first, and then the other person who's involved in the relationship.
Mm.
I don't think there's cheating. It's just your lack, our lack of being able to say what we need to say to ourselves first and then to another person. It's no cheating. We're meant to love multiple people, right? Just like you have multiple girlfriends, sister friends that you love,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't cheat. It's not cheating because you have, you know what I'm saying? They're all just relationships. But everything starts with the relationship to self, everything. So again, as it goes back to the whole death thing,
Mm-hmm.
you have to love yourself first so that when it's time for you to
Mm-hmm.
transition, you're not fighting it because you haven't had the opportunity to love yourself, which translates to you loving people more fully. So nothing is left unresolved.
I love the way you speak because it's just very feminine. I just really appreciate it because I just tell people you need to communicate. Like I'm just, I'm just like very upfront. Like you just need to communicate. Like I don't know why you're not communicating. But you're right. I think first it's not that it's I don't want to say when people don't communicate or hesitate to communicate, it's something that they have to communicate within themselves first. It's not necessarily about the other person, right? They need to kind of tap into themselves and figure out what they're fearing, what it is that is like stopping them from communicating, and just being upfront.
From harmonizing with the truth.
Yeah.
Harmonizing with the truth. Why isn't the truth enough? And I don't want you to discount your directness because this world needs us both. Not everybody gets my interpretation or wants to feel rocked and held as, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I have a softer approach, yes, a feminine approach. I do. And yours is more get to it. And some people will hear me and some people will hear you. It doesn't make my approach any better than yours. I value your approach. I do. I honor your approach.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. That's why I always say yeah, like when I coach, I'm like, okay, I'm not a therapist. I have to like, I have to like tell people because it's like it's a different. You're right. It's like it's a different modality, but we can still get to like a similar or the same solution, right? It's just it works for different types of people. That's it. That's all that it is. But it's like it's so beautiful because some people need that. Some people need rocking.
Yeah.
Some people need a more softer approach.
Because this world is so harsh. This world can be so harsh. How many times are like how often are people having the opportunity to be rocked? What, are people getting an opportunity to be hugged
Mm-hmm.
with words?
Mm-hmm.
We need that. We need that. So I do value my coaching work for that reason. Because and thank you for echoing that sentiment because that's what I hear, that people appreciate that approach in this cruel, harsh, cold world. We are well served every day to really tap into the internal conversations we're having with ourselves so that in the
Mm-hmm.
end we're at ease. We don't have to, kick and fight and try to fight and like you could really fight death or transition. You cannot. There's a saying, your arms are too short to box with God. Cannot. Accept.
Accept.
Cannot. And then accept. Do you know the serenity prayer?
Mm-hmm.
God grant me the serenity to change the things I can, know the things, no, change the things I can, accept the things I cannot, and the wisdom to know the difference. Another thing that I, I use when I'm helping people to work through those things that have plagued them throughout their lives. Very simply, Ho'oponopono. Do you know that?
Mm-mm.
It's a Polynese. It has a Polynese, a Pacific Islander um, etymology, and it is I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Ho
Mm-hmm.
opanopano. And you sit in meditation and you just picture the people that you would like to say that to. Maybe you don't have the courage to say it to them. Maybe they've transitioned. So you just picture them in your mind's
Mm.
eye, right? But funny, there's something magical that happens after you finish all these people that you may, feel that you need to apologize to. Guess what the last picture winds up being?
Hmm.
Yourself. Ho'oponopono. Very useful tool.
Ah!
Very useful tool.
Sorry.
Wow. What happened?
There's a wasp in my room. I don't know how it got in here. Hold on. Just.
Harmonize
Oh
with
my
it.
God. Give me a
Harmonize with it. Open the door. Open the door.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Briefly.
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna open the window right now.
Oponopono.
Oh, open, no, which I haven't
Mm-hmm.
heard before. Right, but you were
Mm-hmm.
saying that like, well, I think the thing is people try to forgive other people, but they don't. They forget to forgive themselves, right?
So when it comes time for you to transition, here you are with a closet full of unresolved situations, and you can't fly high, you can't fly light. Your spirit cannot fly saddled with earthly things. So part of my work is to help people become unbridled with the emotions that often are levied upon us through programming in this space.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like, I think as my family like members got older, my extended family, my grandma, my grandpa, all of them,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I realized that there's so many of them that they don't forgive the people who have passed away, and then they don't forgive themselves, and they don't realize, but they hold on to this. And one of the other things that I learned from the Buddhist monks is what you said, the material things. You can't take your material things with you. Yeah, it's impossible. That's just it's impossible.
Yeah, the people, the folks down south say you've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right, yeah, exactly. And so, the Buddhists believe that there's one thing that you can bring with you, which is your good karma. Okay, that's like
Yes.
your good deeds that you've done. That is the one thing. But I think even more important than that, though, is just being able to transition in peace,
In
surrounded by
peace.
love, like you said, right? Having those
Yeah.
things around you that put a smile on your face. I think that's kind of even more important, really, than
It
karma. Karma,
is.
yeah, okay, sure. Like at the end of the day, yeah, what goes around comes around. So, keep that in mind. But at
Right.
the end of the day, it's really important. Even if you've done a whole lifetime of good karma, if you start holding on to something, you're really holding on to that before you die, you're still going to carry that with you. So you need to really make sure to let go.
And anything that you may want in this world, how can you get it? How do you receive things like this, right? So if you have
Mm.
this, you can't receive even the things that you want, you cannot receive them because your fist is closed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible. So we are well served to just release it, burp and move on. Can't do anything. And I realize whether it's cheating, quote unquote, like you said, cheating earlier in the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
or the cup of cereal, the bowl of cereal you spilled when you were 3 years old as a toddler in your high chair. The universe sees that equally. The universe is not looking at one being more weighty than the other. It's the same. And we need to start
Mm-hmm.
looking at our mistakes, which are not mistakes, they're experiences, all the same. It's all the same to the universe. It's only when we put the judgment on it that has been
Mm-hmm.
given to us, the judgment, the shame, the words like embarrassment or whatever, when we levy those words and the ensuing emotions, that's when we get it all twisted, and it goes to pot, and we wound up having experiences that we ought not, that we don't need to have. We can just accept this happened, and this is what it taught me. I'm I cannot remember the last time I made a mistake. I can't remember the last time the last time I had an experience, I learned something. That's something different. But I'm not punching myself in the face like mistake. Psh. Oh, psh, mistake. Oh, psh. I'm not doing that to myself because I have a much more profound sense of love for myself. That's how I know I love myself, because I don't treat myself like that. And so if I don't treat myself like that, I don't treat you like that. So that when you have an experience, I'm not cutting you off, right? We used to cut our friends off, right? Yeah, no, no. You don't have to. You can just be like, okay, she's over there having an experience. Go ahead. I love you. I do. I love you. But you need to have your experience. And I'll be over here while you have your experience. It's cool. And when you're done having your experience and you learn the lesson, we can meet up again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. Because there's certain talents that people have that you shouldn't toss out. You don't toss, again, the old thing, baby with the bathwater. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. All of us have gifts and talents that we need to share with each other and support each other with. We're here to serve each other because we're all extensions of the Most High, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ugh, you said so much. Yeah, I mean, just like with experiences, too, something I learned in Colombia from Colombians. Because when I was in Colombia, I actually got robbed by my taxi driver. We didn't go into the details. But one of the things that a lot of my Colombian friends, because Colombia is very